A question I get asked a lot is, how do I talk about myself without bragging, especially in interviews or on dates or in areas where you want to put yourself out there and you want to put your best self forward, but you don't want to sound like you're braggy or showing off. So here's how you can talk about yourself without showing off. And it's to think about the traits that you're proud of. So first, just very quickly, and this is a fun little exercise, make a list of the traits you're most proud of, the traits that you want to talk about, the traits you want people to know about. So in an interview, it could be that you're organized. It could be that you're detail-oriented, and it could be that you're a strategic thinker. Okay, what you want to do is in an interview, you don't want to just say, well, I'm very organized and I'm detail-oriented. That can sound like bragging, and it makes it harder to believe. People don't believe it when we say that about ourselves. But what you can do is share a story about each of the traits you want to share. So if someone says, tell me about you, tell me about your job history, you can say, well, in my last job, I was in charge of this really big project, and it was really important that I was detail oriented because there was all these different phases. I took charge of something, it worked really well, and it was hugely successful. That way you're sharing a story that's exemplifying that trait while also using that word in the story. That's much more believable. It feels so much more organic. And also it helps them literally visualize you working. It's much easier for someone to hire you or date you or want to work with you if they can literally visualize you in a great situation doing great things. So think about that list of traits. What's one story that you could share that shows you embody that trait, that they could visualize you actually doing it? A little note here too is I would try practicing these stories out loud. What can happen when we're telling stories about ourselves is we get embarrassed. It's hard to talk about ourselves. And so I would highly recommend think of those traits, come up with some stories, and then practice sharing those stories out loud. Not just writing them out. Writing is totally different than speaking. Pretend that you and I are sitting down to coffee and you have to tell me the stories of your traits, right? Pretend that we're actually talking. How would you tell me, Vanessa? And you can even say, so Vanessa, I want to tell you about this time that I was really detail oriented. I want you to practice sharing the story out loud so you can smooth out the kinks. Elements of a really good story very quickly are a problem, hard work, a solution. So if you can, with all those traits, think about what was the problem, either for you or someone else? How did you work super hard and super smart to solve it? And then what was the solution? What was the great measurable outcome? So if you can, practice those stories out loud and then fit that story arc for each. It's like catnip for an interviewer. I have done hundreds, if not thousands of interviews, and I have found that when we hear a once upon a time with a problem, hard work, and a solution, our brain's like, I really like this person. So make sure you use that 3 model hook with each of those traits. There's one more way to talk about yourself without bragging, and it's to say what others have said about you. So this is one of my least favorite parts of my job, which is I have to prove myself to you when I go on stage for speaking events or when I go in interviews. And so one way that I deal with this without me having to come on and say, hello, I'm a best-selling author and I was on Hanana and Hanana and Hanana, which is so awkward, is I have a little bio that I send ahead, and either someone else reads that for me on stage, or I can even read the bio about myself. The other way that you can do this is you can use testimonials or quotes from people you care about. So maybe you're in a job interview and you want to talk about how you're detail-oriented. Let's stick with that one. You could tell a story, which I hope you do. The other thing you could say is, I loved my last job. My boss always said to me that I was the most detail-oriented employee he had ever had. Okay, so you're sharing a story about what someone else said about you. That's also an easier way and more believable because they could always call that reference and check. So if your boss or any of your references have said glowing things about you in your recommendation letters or in the past, you can recall that as a story too. Oh, my old colleagues, they always loved to give me really big, messy projects because I love organization and I would just spend hours sorting and organizing, and I was the organizer of the office. Right? That's a story, but it also shows that other people thought that about you as well. So think about, are there any other people, or is there a use of a bio or something that can speak for you to your own accolades? That always makes it less nerve-wracking. I want you to actually brag about yourself. We don't really get the chance to do it. So below this video, I want you to put a comment with your 3 best traits. That can be best romantic traits, best professional traits. We so rarely get a chance to brag about ourselves, and I want to cheer you on. I want to see how awesome you are. So put those 3 traits below. Don't be humble. Don't be modest. If you feel like it, you could even practice a story, and I can read that in the comments too. We need to talk about ourselves. We need to get more comfortable with it. And this is a great way to practice. So share your 3 traits below, a story if you're willing. And if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to our channel. I would be so, so grateful. You know, people have said that my YouTube channel is super fun and entertaining. People have said that. See what I did there? See, I said people have said. And wasn't that more believable? Give this video a like. I would love to see you in our next video.
Are you living up to your full potential? Do you want more? I would love to help you. Get started with my free training and learn more about People School today. Visit scienceofpeople.com/pschool.